So we're going to go ahead and get right into this Vince stuff. And I'm not going to separate the show like we did last week. So,
Remember,
um,
dude, our lead topic has changed 3 times this week.
yeah, yeah. Oh, you know what it reminds me? Our original lead topic, and that just reminded me. I have to put that back up on the show. Our original lead topic was Jay White, and we will talk about Jay White.
It's like
Um,
10 news cycles ago. Who cares? Who cares about Jay White?
yeah, so I do want to talk about him, so I have him on the list. We'll save that for the Patreon. But man, so Tuesday, I don't even remember what time. Tuesday at some point.
Tuesday night, I was having dinner. That's how I remember it. It was when it was after practice and everything went to shit.
So Brian Alvarez, and you know what? Bad on him, by the way. And I know that we're friendly with the Observer, and we got a lot of mutual friends with Brian. But I think he'll look back on this and say this is probably not his best moment. But he just hops onto Twitter and does a vague tweet. And vague tweets I fucking hate them. I hate anybody that just tweets eyeball emojis when they know a story's about to break. Just say what it is if you got the story. If not, don't say anything at all. Let whoever's got it break it. Okay. So he gets onto Twitter and he said, I think some huge news is going to drop any minute now. Something to that effect, right? Earth shattering, whatever it was, the biggest news of all time.
Major story about to drop, I believe, is the verbiage.
Yeah. So something to that effect.
And this is reminder, this is an hour after Stephanie McMahon had already stepped down.
Yes. Oh, yeah. So the day starts off with Stephanie resigning. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Stephanie steps down, and that gets picked up everywhere, right? And then later in the evening, that Brian Alvarez says the thing about the major story about the drop any minute. And so we're talking. We have some connections around the way,
We
right?
know some people. We know people.
We know some people, and so we reached out to some people, and the first thing we saw was Saudis are buying WWE, right? I mean that isn't that the first thing you saw?
First thing I saw. But here's the thing. It was universal.
Yeah.
Everybody was saying this. And this is why I don't quite. Of course the story got denied. It reminded me of remember when the Boston bombing happened, the Boston Marathon bombing, and everybody on Twitter had them going after the wrong guy, and it turned out everyone was after the wrong guy. I'll never forget this. Is
right.
The first time that I really saw social media failed. It kind of reminded me of that a little bit, because the Mark Swain was like, no, the Saudis aren't buying anybody.
And then
I don't know.
Yeah, well, and so I'm just gonna I'll run through kind of how everything goes down. So we reach out to some people, some people, we have some mutual friends, and so we're into this conversation. It's like, okay, Saudis are buying it, but you and I obviously don't say anything. And then Body Slam Cassidy, who we have a mutual friend with him, Gerard. They're pretty tight. Gerard works for Body Slam, and he's just he just runs with it. So Cassidy Haynes, I think is his name, and Steve Mulhausen. So Cassidy Haynes from Body Slam and Steve Mulhausen from DAZN. They run with it and say, this is like a done deal. The Saudis have bought them. Then all of a sudden, Deadspin, all these other major publications, they're saying, report, it's about a done deal. Everybody's thinking it could be a done deal at this point. And then as the night progresses, they're okay, well, it's not really a done deal. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of hoops they got to jump through, but it's basically happening. And then by the time we get up the next day, everybody is kind of like, Mulhausen actually deleted all his tweets about it. So he acted like that doesn't even exist. And then one by one, a lot of folks said that, okay, original reports, they might have jumped the gun a little bit. It's not a done deal, but the deal is still could happen essentially. But most people think that there's still a lot of other suitors in play.
So we had conversations with people. I had some conversations too. The first one I had with someone was like, yeah, we're fucked. This is bias. And then it was like, no, it's supposed to be a story that was leaked intentionally. The vibe I got, no one said this, but the vibe I got was that I think the Saudis did more than kick the tires. And it was our mutual friend Snowden that floated the idea that maybe Vince is looking to go private and was using Saudi capital to do it.
Yeah.
I don't think this story is done.
I don't think and they said that everybody's saying the Saudis have not bought WWE. I believe they have not bought WWE yet. I believe they have a deal with the Saudis whenever they want it. It's there for the taking, but they're still chopping it around to try to see what the best move going forward is. But I think Vince has that in his back pocket. And I think that's why he came back, because he knew he had that in his back pocket.
Stories leak for reasons. So I
Yeah.
keep going back to, why did this story leak? And again, I heard a rumor that it was leaked to intentionally disrupt potential TV deals. I mean, like, there's nothing to drive there's nothing to drive a price up more than saying, oh, so and so is going to buy it.
Right.
Because what does that happen? I mean, like, we see this all the time, especially with stupid rich people. Like, oh, they got it. Well, now I want it more, and they're going to spend more now. So I mean, like, again, I don't think it's a done deal. Like, I don't think it's a done deal by any stretch. Clearly, it's not a done deal.
No.
But it doesn't mean it can't be. Like, again, we lived through WCW, right? Where, remember Eric Bischoff? They announced that Eric Bischoff's company had bought WCW, and then they
Fusion
didn't.
Media.
Fusion Media. Thank you. I forgot the name of it.
Uh,
Our good friend John Muse could tell you a lot of stories about that.
yes.
And then remember, because Vince was going to buy it in the fall, and then that fell through. And then he wound up with it anyway. So, I mean, like, these things, and again, Vince had just taken the company over again, which, by the way, Vince is now in control of WWE again. That's like 3 news cycles ago. That couldn't happen that fast. And that was one thing. I'm like, how could this be this fast? He just got control of the company. But at the same time, he just got control of the company. I think this is the conversation we had Garrett in our private chat too. Is he's like, what do the Saudis gain?
Right.
And my thought was, what do they want? They want Western acceptance, right? And acceptance of the fact that they just want to be considered on the level of the West without changing a damn thing about their country and their culture. They still want to butcher people and chop people's bodies and torture gay people, but they just want everyone to be cool with it.
They want to buy our love and affection, right?
Yes,
and they're willing to do that by buying the things that we love, i.e., things that they think that we love. Meaning the 2 biggest things right now, or 3. Pro wrestling, golf, and boxing right now is kind of what they're buying.
Yeah. And I get, like, when Garrett's, and we were talking about this, Garrett's like, well, they're, Live. I know nothing of golf. I didn't know what Live Golf was until I had a conversation with our golf coach last fall. But Liv's a startup. I'm like, I get it. WWE isn't a startup. Like, that's a turnkey operation. And all of a sudden, like, you have propaganda, and WWE is not above doing Saudi propaganda. Your buddy Triple H also continued the propaganda full blast. Like, no shame there whatsoever. So, he's got no morality, but I don't expect even from pro wrestling to have morality. More on that later. I did hear there were other suitors. And again, I'm not going to go report stuff that I've heard, because I don't know if it's true. It's all hearsay and conjecture. But I have heard that there are other offers on the table.
Yeah. And and that's probably going to be getting leaked out here pretty soon. But there was an article that I thought was very interesting to this show, and which is what our lead story really is. So we kind of been, the last 10 minutes, been setting the table for this. So it was Barron's, which is, I guess, a sister publication to the Wall Street Journal.
Have you ever heard of Barron's before today?
I've never read the Wall Street Journal. I know of stocks. I've seen documentaries on stock market crashes. I have like $3,000 in an E-Trade account, and I don't know what to do with it. So I'm not a stock reader, right? I don't really know the market, so I don't know nothing of either publication. But Barron's is the sister publication of Wall Street Journal. The articles that Paul Ellering used to read whenever he would walk the Road Warriors to the ring, right?
Wrestling show. You can tell that's our tie to the Wall Street Journal and Barron's. Because Paul Ellering in the 80s used to have this newspaper rolled up. Yes.
Yeah.
God, we're dorks. Yeah. Continue.
Yeah, I know. I have to relate everything to pro wrestling. But anyway, so Barron's wrote it, and he said that one of the suitors, I don't know if they termed it as being in play or somebody that was just interested in buying. What I thought was very interesting would be one Shad Khan and Tony Khan, owners of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and of course, All Elite Wrestling.
Don't bury the lead. They also own Fulham Soccer Club. And I've heard
the name
many times a hotel in Toronto that was once owned by the Saudis or someone there, something.
Right.
I can't stop laughing thinking about this. All right. Let's just open up right now. Well, that ain't gonna happen.
No, it's not gonna
It's not gonna happen.
No,
Vince would choke on a razor blade before selling his baby to Tony Khan.
Especially after Triple H was at the Hall of Fame calling it a pissant company and saying that Vince was going to buy it, right?
Right.
There's no way.
Correct.
There's no way. But I like the fact that it's a little bit of gamesmanship from the Khan family just by throwing their name in the hat. Yeah.
Okay, you read it on Barron's. I read it on CNBC.
Yeah, it's been picked up everywhere.
So you know what this really is? This is like, hey, we'll buy that. We're interested. What's it cost? Yeah, we'll kick the tires on it. Oh, and all of a sudden they got themselves a bunch of free advertising, free media publicity.
Mm-hmm.
Now all of a sudden people have never uttered the term all elite wrestling are using it. All they've done is just shine a nice little light on their company. Like it's done a great job of bringing awareness to their alternative brand and saying we could buy WWE when they actually kind of could.
Yeah.
If Vince would allow that. Again,
Right.
Vince razor blades, you will see. I think it's more likely that Stephanie would buy WWE outright than Tony Khan.
Well, let's explain how this works, because I think people think that Shad Khan, who's very rich, right?
Very rich.
Like the Khan family has more money than the McMahon family.
They do.
But people think that Khan would just write an $8 billion check. Like, here's my checkbook. Here's how I think that's what people think is going to happen. It's like, no, they would have to put together a capital investment group, right? They would have to reach out and then bring all these investors in. They'd have to have a plan in place and yada, 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 make sure the TV deals are available. That would be a long drawn out process. And then, of course, the guy with 80% of the voting power would have to sign off on it. And there's no fucking way he'd sign off on it. He would take less money from somebody else than more money from the Khan family, because he wouldn't eat that kind of shit.
There would be, if you will, no chance in hell.
Yeah.
Like, I see what I did there. But I love the gamesmanship. I absolutely love it. You know who the first thing I thought of when I read that? I was like, I want Tony Khan to buy this company so I can watch Scott Young meltdown. That is what I need. Scott would absolutely lose his mind, and I'm sorry, I'm a petty person. I would be here for that, and I would be entertained greatly to see my friend miserable.
Just miserable. Yeah. If Tony Khan bought WWE, I want to be on the rap that week. Like I just want to, and I just want to be live I just want to see everybody's faces as you just gloat while Scott cries in a corner.
I want the StreamYard platform and just sit like this while Keelan and Scott break down how Tony Khan has bought WWE.
Yeah. How Tony Khan appeared on Raw and publicly fired The Miz. Like, I got to see it.
Oh my God. That would be the best. Oh, wow. See, God will never let me be that happy, so it'll never happen. It will never happen. But I would love for it to. Now, again, like you said, Vince McMahon has 80% of the voting power, and the reality is he put himself back in charge. Because again, don't go full Dangor. Remember, I was going to do this whole bit where I just yelled at a fake Louis Dangor the whole time. But there's too much more important, too many more important things. Like I can't. That's 3 days ago. But he's really stupid, by the way. Yeah. He said, well, Vince McMahon's he can't just put himself back in charge. But he can.
That's the first thing he did.
And people are like, I can't believe he did that. It's like not pay attention. Again, I'm going to take a victory lap because I told you guys this was going to happen. And here we are.
Yeah, like he was like, oh, like Vince could actually just put himself back in charge. Like he literally has every legal right to do that. Like he can do that. I know there's some idiot in Delaware trying to sue him over it. Sorry, that lawsuit's gonna die a quick fucking death. You're an idiot. That's not.
Or it'll get drawn out forever. I mean, those lawsuits are stupid. Like this. I mean, he literally said, "Well, the board voted him down." Well, he owned the board. He put a new board together. This is how capitalism works. And the best part is clearly he has being a public company has outlived its usefulness for Vince McMahon because of all the scrutiny, right? We got to report everything. He's tired of that. So the Saudi thing makes total sense if you're Vince McMahon, because how much longer are you going to be alive for? Probably another 30 years knowing Vince McMahon. But then you need, take that capital back and then make it private, and then you get to own everything, and nobody gets to know how big of a piece of shit you really are, even though everybody knows how big a piece of shit you really are.
Right. There's literally like what's the biggest, besides the NDAs, what's the biggest pain in his ass? It's the SEC.
Yes.
Right. Not the Southeastern Conference, the Securities and Exchange Commission. Okay. Yeah. So that's the federal government, the governmental oversight. If he goes back to being private and he can get $8.5 billion and still keep himself in charge, I think he's fine. The problem is if the Saudis do buy this thing, I don't think that a lot of networks are going to want to do business.
I disagree.
I think a lot will, but I think that he's probably going to lose out on some potential competitive suitors.
I don't buy that because I don't think there are any competitive suitors for the TV deal. It's Comcast or nothing.
Yeah,
It's
but
Comcast.
if there's only one suitor, how do you drive that price up, right? And they were able to drive the price up on Comcast
If
because
you're
Fox and I think Disney at one point was interested for one of
Disney's
their
never been in.
stations.
That is not accurate. Disney has never, like, I know he had a meeting with Iger. I know Nikki Khan had that meeting with Bob Iger today, but Disney has never expressed public interest in buying
Well,
WWE ever. That's just an
I guess
assumption that people make. They're selling.
right.
I think Nick Khan's trying to get them interested in it, but the truth is, and this wrestling fans, so they don't like hearing this. Disney doesn't need WWE. They
No.
have the young boy audience with Marvel. They have the older boy audience with Star Wars. WWE does not fit their corporate profile.
Yeah, no, that's just, so. I guess what I meant was Disney interested in the TV rights. That's what I was. That's what I was saying. Because they got ESPN Plus, they can do ESPN Plus pay-per-view. They also have FX, the channel that's under the Disney portfolio now. So I think there could be room for a WWE in there. And plus, UFC's all over ESPN. I think it would work on FX, Hulu,
Yeah,
ESPN.
but Disney to make a play for the media rights, okay, I'll buy for that. But Disney doesn't own UFC. Endeavor owns UFC. That is a player I think could. I'm surprised it emerged more.
No, people have been talking about Endeavor too.
Yeah, but it doesn't seem like they're like in the top of the conversation, like as I thought they'd be. I thought they would be. I thought Vince was going to get the Dana deal, right? That was kind of what I was thinking. But again, Disney, I don't foresee that. I would be surprised if that winds up being. I think there's too much. I think there's too much history and goodwill between Comcast and WWE. Like if Comcast doesn't buy them outright, I just don't see that happening, right? And I could be wrong. I reserve the right to be wrong. But I mean, and if they're in bed with the Saudis, they haven't had a problem doing Saudi propaganda on the network before for WWE.
Mm-hmm.
Like every year they go to Riyadh or whatever backwater Sandberg that place is. Like they don't complain about it. Like it's WWE. So
yeah.
Like
and Fox does their pay-per-views with Tyson Fury over in Saudi Arabia, right? And so they can't be that worried about it. So no, it's either you have all integrity or no integrity.
And no integrity is. I think people need to understand that when it comes to capitalism, and like these people, and now people are like, oh, capitalism, dirty word. I mean, like, but it's reality of life we live. But it's truth is that there's a lot you can put up with when money is on the line. And it's been that way for hundreds of, if not thousands of years. Like these people are going to do business with each other. They're not going to say, oh, we're not going to do business with you because you're owned by a Saudi company or you're backed by Saudi money. Like that's not real. That's not reality. They could buy him tomorrow.
Speaking of not being in reality.
What do you got?
So this was posted in the Impact Fan Nation Facebook group.
Oh God, please tell me this one.
Anthem should throw their spelled THERE their hat in the ring to buy WWE. I just look, I love Impact fans. Yeah, I love Impact fans. I love the fans of this show. I love the reasonable people that we talk to on a daily basis. If you think that Anthem has the money to buy WWE, you are fucking stupid.
Now, I had to take my headphones off.
So Anthem is a subsidiary of this Northern Pacific group, right? Which owns a bunch of other smaller ones. So Northern Pacific group's like way up here, right? And this is all broken down by a guy I know, Lavi Margolin. He's a smart guy. He's trying to get into the media space, talk the business of the business with the Two-Man Power Trip, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's good. So Northern Pacific group's up here, right? So this is the big portfolio. And then underneath that, one of the smaller ones is Anthem Sports Media Group or whatever it's called, right? So then you have Anthem, and underneath Anthem you have Access Fight Network, Impact Wrestling, Impact Channel, then all these little small stations, okay? So they're a smaller group of a bigger group, okay? Could the Northern Pacific group pull in a bunch of different investors and make a play for WWE? I guess if you want to say that, is that possible? Maybe. No, it's not happening. Nobody thinks that's happening. No, they're not even on the table. Could that possibly? Yes, but why would they? There's no reason to. Anthem themselves, absolutely fucking not. Anthem couldn't even pay for Willie Mack to have a pay raise, right? Like they can't afford to buy talent to white balance their goddamn cameras. What makes you think that Anthem and the Asper family is willing to spend $8.5 billion on WWE. That is ridiculously stupid.
You got to have NFL, like you got to own an NFL. That's why the Khan thing is kind of can make sense, right? Because
Yeah.
they are legitimate players. They own an NFL franchise. That's the kind of people we're talking about here. I think that when I say we, like we're smart. People listening to this show are smart.
Yeah.
But there are fans that truly overvalue. It's like when Dix used to say the Panda could buy WWE. It's like, okay, sure, maybe they could, but I mean, like, come on, man, use your brain. Like that's
So BQ was trying to talk sense into him, and I'm like, BQ, why are you doing that?
good luck, BQ.
So some in BQ is like, Anthem doesn't have that kind of money. He goes, even the Khan family would need to pull in investors, of course. And that's absolutely accurate, right?
Billions of dollars,
we're talking
billions.
billions, right? And they're not. It's not something you don't just write a check for that. But somebody
You could.
responded to.
Yeah, I could write $1 billion check. I mean, worthless. It's about the same as the Anthem.
Basketball. Yeah.
It would be the same as the Anthem writing a check. It'd be the same value, nothing.
Yeah. So this is but somebody responds to BQ. Well, actually, they do, saying have the money. Anthem is a sports business. You tracking, JD? Sports make a lot more than WWE. Anthem does have the money to
all sports together combined.
Yeah.
Do in fact make more than the WWE. He is 100% right.
So he's not lying. Yeah.
No.
Anthem does sports in Invicta, which is 25,000 on YouTube is what they do, I think. But yeah, so they do own a sports business. That is true. And they own a sports network in the Fight Network. So I got to give them that. But yeah,
this is the dumbest. We see a lot of dumb discourse, but I'm sorry, man. If this guy is a listener, I'm really sorry. But this is a really dumb take.
Yeah. Look, guys. In the grand scheme of things, Anthem is a small company when you're talking about Comcast and Disney and Viacom, and like those are the players. Endeavor is this huge company, right? And Redbird Capital from The Rock, which owns $7 Entertainment, all these other like those are huge companies, right? You're talking about Anthem, which owns a handful of small cable channels and a pro wrestling promotion and MMA promotion, both of which are relatively small, right? They don't have it. Now, could a larger investor bring in the Aspers to give some money over to do that? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know what kind of cash Len Asper has lying around. I'm guessing it's not a ton to be just throwing into a WWE investment when you have your own shit to deal with over here.
We lost a quarter of our talent this fall in Impact. If Anthem had that kind of money to compete with WWE, because again, as we say, pro wrestlers, very financially driven. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
If they could compete with WWE financially, don't you think they could do it? They would be competing with them, let alone trying to buy them.
Yeah. Somebody said, when I made the Willie Mack comment, someone said, well, maybe they were just using their money on Tasha Steelz, like trying to make that like I think he was trying to burn me, I guess.
Was that
I don't
joke?
know. I don't know. I know. I think he was serious. Hold on. Let me go back to what this guy said.
Please repeat this because I'm struggling here.
Yeah. So I said they couldn't even give Willie Mack a raise, and I thought that was a pretty fun joke.
That is a good joke. I appreciate it.
This guy replies, couldn't, or decided their money was better spent on talent like Chris Bay, Rich Swann, Tasha Steelz, and many others they have re-signed. So he's making the argument that they have re-signed others, totally negating the fact that they lost about a quarter of the roster. totally denying that fact.
Okay. If you own a pro wrestling, I'm sorry, I had to break this down. If you own a pro wrestling promotion, you want more people working for you than not less people working. I mean, I'm saying like you wouldn't lose a lot of your top end talent. We lost because couldn't afford them, right?
Yeah.
You ain't buying WWE if you say, catering a little stiff this month. Think we're gonna have to have Krispy Kreme instead. Yeah. Like you ain't buying $1 billion company, let alone a multiple $1 billion company.
$8.5 billion is what this thing.
Do you know how much $8.5 billion is? Think about that. $8.5 billion.
That would be like buying the Los Angeles Dodgers, right? That's the kind of money we're talking about. That's insanity.
It's insanity. Yeah. And like, yeah, dude, no,
Yeah.
no, that's
I thought you would enjoy that. I thought you would
Anth-
enjoy that. But
Anthem.
you know what we won't enjoy, JD?
What?
BTI. Let's talk some
Oh,
BTI. All right. Raj Singh and She-Ra defeated Swingers Dungeon, Johnny Swinger and Zicky Dice. And that was talking BTI. Thank you, folks. Thank you for talking BTI with us.
I don't even have a gimmick on that one. I'm just like, okay.
No, I just got to get the gimmick in. We've already gone too long on the WWE shit. A lot of the Impact fans already
How can
turned
you
off.
not? How that's okay. How can
Yeah.
you not? Like
Yeah,
this
no,
is
it's
like
the biggest.
possibly in history.
It affects everything. It absolutely affects everything.
It changes the business changes forever the second this deal goes through. Even discussing this changes everything.
Yeah.